It's a magical night in downtown Toronto. There's a special chill in the air, but there's goosebumps at the Air Canada Centre as fans get ready to honor this man, Wendel Clark, a fan favorite with the Toronto Maple Leafs for 25 years, known for his stash, the mustache. He will be honored this night at the Air Canada Centre. Welcome everybody to Game 1. This is Leaf Nation HQ, and the masses have gathered, and they've all got their Wendel mustaches as they will wear them tonight. And the first 10,000 people also get a little Wendel Clark bobblehead, as number 17 will be raised to the rafters to join some Leaf greats, no question. Speaking of greats, Joe Bowen, Mark Morrow, and our senior reporter Paul Henrik join us. And gentlemen, you're looking particularly lovely tonight.
Thank you, Jody. It's very kind of you to point that out.
We've got to talk about Wendel Clark. And Joe, I want to know, because you've been covering him, his entire career?
Yeah, pretty much.
So your favorite moments?
Lots of them, and just the fact that Wendel Clark wore his heart on his jersey, and game in and game out, you got exactly what he could bring to the table. He had an amazing ability to time open ice hits. He was a tremendous shooter. That wrist shot was maybe the best I'd ever seen. But my favorite moment is Game 6 in Los Angeles, him coming off the bench, Gilmore spotting him with 6 attackers, and snapping his third goal of the game over the shoulder of Kelly Rudy to send it to overtime, where only an act of God could create a situation where they didn't go on to meet the Montreal Canadiens, but we won't get into that. But what a tremendous player. And in the 80s, he was the show. Yeah. That's why they watched. That's why you went to a game. You wanted to see what Wendel was going to do.
Now, Mark, I'd like to ask you, do you remember the first time you met Wendel Clark?
I absolutely do. It was when I became a member of the Maple Leafs organization at that point. But before we get into my Wendel Clark memories, I just got to say, wearing this, is it just me, or do you not feel tougher? I just feel so tough walking around with this
other
thing.
Than Henny,
I feel like knocking you over.
And Paul feels sexy. Oh, dear.
Yeah, you know, I had a chance to meet Wendel, and he's a guy that's always around the dressing room, especially here at the Air Canada Centre, and he's just a very humble, great guy. And grow up watching him, he was by far and away my favorite player. I think, Joe, you summed it up best, that he just brought it all, the complete package. There are so many memories that I have. That LA playoff series in particular, the fight with McSorley, that goal you speak about, those are things that will always be etched in my favorite hockey memories all time.
I agree. He was so much fun to watch. Eddie?
Guys, I got to reflect back to March of 1996 when he came back to the team after being traded in the earlier part of the decade, and Dallas was at Maple Leaf Gardens that night, and Wendel scored a spectacular end-to-end goal, and it's something I'll never forget, and the crowd on its feet, they loved Wendel. And Joe, as you said, you've been here for pretty much his entire career. It was a memorable night. I had the opportunity to sit front row greens at the Gardens for that one, and I still got chills thinking about it, and when I see Wendel tonight, that's what I'll be thinking about.
Fabulous story. Off the ice, Wendel Clark is the type of man that you meet him one time, you introduce yourself, the next time you see him, he says, "Hey, Jody, how's it going?" He has the time for everyone, and he is a true great person. Time to get to our headlines now. It's an original 6 matchup with the Blackhawks in to take on your Toronto Maple Leafs, a rare meeting between the two. So it's our headlines, brought to you by Ford, powered by you. Paul?
Well, beyond the Wendel banner raising tonight, Jody, we have Vesa Toskala and how he has to get better. It's also been a week to recoup for the Leafs. They haven't played in 5 days, shutting down this young Chicago Blackhawk team. And back for the attack, John Mitchell, after missing the previous 5 games. Joe, we'll talk about Vesa Toskala immediately. A week ago tonight in terms of what happened in Vancouver, but more specifically back home Monday against Boston. He's got to be better early on, but you'd have to think he's going to be better.
No, this is an unfortunate goal, and there haven't been an awful lot of goals that you said, boy, that was a real stinker. He's had some bad breaks where it's bounced and everything else, but he's like a putter, a professional golfer who loses a little bit of his confidence in his putting stroke, and then he's trying different equipment and trying different things to get that putting stroke back. Vesa's got to get back out to being out at the top of the crease and being square to the puck and being big. He's not a large goaltender, so he has to realize that he's got to be out more and he's got to be quick with his hands and everything else. But he will do that. But unfortunately, when you lose confidence as a goaltender, the first thing you do is you think, if I back up, I'll have more time to react. Doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so I think the time that he has spent with Corey Hirsch this week has probably been more of a mental thing than rather a technical thing.
The Leafs had Tuesday off after the game Monday night, but they went at it Wednesday. They went at it hard Thursday, and they had a great practice yesterday. So Mark Morrow, 3 great ties to recoup and get things going back again on track, and Ron Wilson certainly put these guys through their paces.
Did he ever? And it's one of those situations where it's an opportunity for the guys on the team to recoup from their bumps and bruises. They've gone through training camp, now the opening quarter of the season essentially, and you're starting to wear down a little bit. You're starting to feel those first effects. However, Ron Wilson wasn't going to let them totally off the hook. As you can see here, they had high, intense practices, a lot of conditioning, especially early in the week. It's just one of those issues where it's a chance to work on your conditioning, but at the same time catch some rest, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, it was an opportunity, as mentioned, to work hard. Wednesday, they went at it. I mean, it was painful to watch, but they went at it with pride, and they went at it hard, and certainly look back on the week that was Jeff Finger. He talked with Andy this morning after practice.
Work on that gave you the advantage to kind of maybe perhaps work on some defensive things as well that Ron Wilson talked about.
During practice this week, it was more of a bunch of flow and a bunch of one-on-one battle drills, more defensive zone type things like live scrimmages, stuff like that, because I think that's really the only way to learn your system is by doing it, and that's what we did.
Taking on a team that is offensively skilled, does it also come at a right time as well to have that break before taking on a younger team as well that's played a couple times already this week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether, it's going to benefit sometimes with this time off. You can come out maybe with a sluggish start, but, hopefully that's not the case with us. Our practice has been high pace, and it's been good this week.
Chicago Blackhawks back in Toronto. They were here last October, won the game 6-4, and what we remember from that game as well, Joe, is the number of shooters they've got in this lineup, and they are the youngest team in the National Hockey League, just over 25 years of age each, and they can all score.
Yeah, they can, and it's a great tribute to what is going on in Chicago. I always said if I won the gazillion-dollar lottery, I was going to go down and buy the team from Bill Wirtz, and really because Chicago is such a great sports town. They're 6-1-4 on home ice. It's a big turnaround for this franchise, and they are trying to do it with the young guns that they've got, and they've got a lot of them, and here's a good look at some of them that are up there. Havlat is a grizzled old veteran at 27.
He is. I was just going to point that out, but the great thing about it, too, not only the young team, but they're all producing throughout the lineup. All these young guys, Patrick Kane obviously leading the way, but the rest of them are all putting up great numbers, and they're all buying into the team thing. They have a young captain with Jonathan Towers. He's only 20 years old, but they're all buying in. They're all supporting each other, and they seem to be having a lot of fun in doing it.
Leafs getting a little bit healthier. Mike Van Ryn, however, still out. However, John Mitchell is back in the lineup. We look back to November 6th in the check he took from Aaron Ward, slightly separated his shoulder. He has worked hard and missed only 5 games. But John was posed the question this morning, are you back in the lineup a little sooner than you expected?
I don't think it's sooner than expected. I think maybe even a little bit late, but we had a long week off, so I mean they didn't want me to play Monday just because it wasn't feeling up to par. So now we've had a bunch of days in between those games, so that really helped the development of the shoulder and everything. So it feels really good now. What
sorts of things did you do to strengthen it to get ready for tonight?
We just did a lot of band work, using rubber bands, weights and everything. Just, getting that motion back and just working kind of every muscle of the shoulder just to get it strong.
Now, you've been through this before where you've had injuries that have kept you out for a couple weeks. What's always been your plan of attack when you get back into the lineup? I know some guys say they don't worry about being hesitant or going into the boards. Is that your plan of attack as well?
Well, yeah, you have to look at it that way. You can't go in there being all, worried and afraid of what might happen. You just have to go and do your job and do the things that you need to do to be a good player and help the team. So, I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind and still skate hard and try and get in the corners first and, get bumps on their defensemen and on their forwards or whoever I need to hit. So I'm just going to try and play the same way I was before I had the injury.
And, Joe, we look ahead to John Mitchell here tonight. What will make him an effective Leaf against the Chicago Blackhawks?
Well, his speed, his creativity. He was playing, I thought, pretty well until he did separate that shoulder. But here's a guy that really does have some talent. And the Leafs are like the Chicago Blackhawks in a remolding, if you will. And they're trying to be younger. John Mitchell is an opportunity to be just that.
Gets a chance, Mark, to play with Jamal Mayers, and I think Alex Steen here this evening. A bit of a bang-up line, rather. This is a line with some potential to score some goals as well.
It is, but I think the one thing for John Mitchell coming back in the lineup after having been out and really starting to gather his confidence is not going out there and trying to do too much, because he's going to be all excited to get back out there. He's going to want to show that his shoulder is healthy again. He really has to go out there and just play a steady game and use his line mates, become an effective checking line. If they get a chance to contribute offense, they definitely are capable of doing that.
All right, guys, we got to take a quick break here. Joe, we're going to send you upstairs. Paul, if you wouldn't mind going downstairs to interview Wendel Clark for us, we'd really appreciate that. Fans are coming in. They're getting their mustaches. They're putting them on. Wendel Clark, night at the Air Canada Centre. We are back with much more as a tribute to 17 unfolds here at the ACC. We'll be back right after this.